In the news, Prime Minister Mark Carney, of course, announcing a new $1.2 billion aid package for Canada's softwood lumber industry. Now, the news comes just after the U.S. government announced an increase in anti-dumping duties on the sector, going from 7 to just over 20%. BC's Forest Minister, Ravi Parmar, welcomed the news yesterday, saying he intends to make sure the province gets its fair share of the funding. This all comes as the industry is caught in an escalating trade war between the two countries. And for more, we've reached David Elstone, Managing Director of the Spartree Group. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning.
First off, let's talk about this latest increase in the tariff by the U.S. government in anti-dumping duties. What does that do exactly, going from 7% to 20%?
It adds costs to the lumber exporters from Canada to the U.S. market. It hits their bottom line directly. That's assuming that the U.S. market uh, does not won't absorb that duty, that extra cost. So if prices do go up, um, the ability for the exporters to pass it on is increased. But if the things stay the way they are, it becomes less and becomes more of a burden.
And why is this? Why are they calling this anti-dumping? I mean, what is the difference between the U.S. system and the Canadian system, and why does the U.S. think the Canadian system is unfair?
Well, we don't have about 5 hours to review the differences
At the
of the
heart of it,
Canadian
though.
versus U.S. Timber systems. But basically, it's a protectionist move, as it always has been by the U.S. The U.S. uses about 30% of their lumber supply comes from outside of the country, and we are the major supplier of that 30%. And our entire Canadian industry is built to help them deliver lumber to home builders in the U.S. at a reasonable cost.
Yeah, but they see the fact that we have sort of leases on Crown land and where the timber is grown. They see that as an unfair advantage, do they?
Certainly, they see it in their mind. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The United States is very different. This is why it could take a couple hours to
Yeah.
have this conversation, but very, very high level in Canada and particularly in British Columbia. 95% of our land base, British Columbia, is Crown land or publicly owned land. And in the United States, it's the actual complete inverse,
Yeah.
particularly in the Pacific Northwest, where it's mostly private land. And so how the sawmillers in the U.S. would acquire their logs would be buying, if they didn't own the timberland, they'd have to buy those logs from the open market. And we Canadian sawmillers still have to buy those logs from the open market, but where those logs originate from is creates the difference.
Right. Now, you say the industry knew that this was coming. Do you think the federal and provincial governments were prepared for this?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, we've known since March when there's a process that the U.S. Department of Commerce starts that it's called a preliminary indication of what the duties will be, and they did that. They released that in March, but we've kind of known for a year, at least since 2023 when we saw the lumber prices then and what the average lumber price was in 2023, because today's rates that are increasing are based off of 2023 lumber prices.
Right.
So it was a very low year for lumber prices that year after coming off of record highs in 2021 and 22. And yeah, so we knew that there would be a substantial increase coming, and that was confirmed last March here. And now we have the actual final results, if they want to call it, come out today, or
Mm.
excuse me, that came out last week, and we expect the countervailing duty to come out later this
Right.
week, which is the two parts of this sort of softwood lumber duties discussion.
And the $1.2 billion that Carney has pledged here, how will that actually be spent? Where will the support go?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So there's $700 million for loan guarantees, which helps the liquidity of the actual sawmillers or lumber exporters, and that's kind of almost standard fare. I mean, we had the same announcement, 500 million in 2017 announced. Um, so that's a standard component to help the exporters with their credit, etc. If you have happy creditors, you have happy companies. let's put it that way. But they've also something that's more unique this year. This time around, they have a $500 million program for markets, supercharging product development and market diversification. On top of that, they have a program that you could probably hear more about that I guess you could say Carney soft launched yesterday, the Build Canada program, where he plans to plans to double the amount of housing starts we build here annually in Canada from about 250 to 500. Might be a bit aggressive, and I'm surprised as an economist that he would make such a commitment. But hey, we'll take it if he's planning to do it. I don't know how it'll happen, and of course, supports for workers that are affected.
Does this not fall into, I mean, giving the industry $1.2 billion in aid, does that not fall into the U.S. narrative that the government is propping up the industry unfairly?
Again, a matter of interpretation. I don't think so. I mean, we're only doing this because of the of this trade war, not the broader trade war we're talking about with Donald Trump and his tariffs and all this stuff. We're talking specifically about the softwood lumber conflict, or this longstanding, irritant that's been on for well, multiple decades, that occasionally gets settled, occasionally then flares up again, like we have since 2017. We're in what's called Lumber War 5. So we put this funding in place to help our forest sector in response to these duties that are just becoming so harsh with these increases of late. So I mean, you could also hold up that mirror and flip it around and show the U.S. All the subsidies. Not that I'm saying we have any subsidies,
Yeah.
but you can show them they're actually giving out grants to help people build sawmills in the United States currently.
Hmm. So what are we looking at then in the months ahead? I mean, where does this go? Do we look to see whether we're going to get anywhere near the housing numbers that the Carney is talking about here?
Well, there's a few messages that you could sort of read between the lines from this announcement yesterday. First of all, the fact that he's announcing this massive package. It's one of the biggest. It's the biggest package since 2017 for first major package to deal with lumber wars since 2017, 8 years. It indicates, especially in the run up to last week, there was August 1st, where there was all these tariff threats and there was a trade deal. And a couple of weeks ago, Carney talked about, we're going to include quotas for lumber in their in a big trade deal package, etc. So that got everyone excited or interested. I mean, there was a little concerns about it being a quota, but nonetheless, indicated that there's something that's possibly going to happen. Well, coming out yesterday and saying, "Hey, we're going to give you this. There's this program. It's $1.2 million announcement." It indicates that a deal is not on the horizon. It indicates it's going to be quite a long time. We're going to be dealing with this. If there was something imminent, they wouldn't have announced something, obviously. So that's the first thing you should take away, is that there's going to be we're in it for the long haul.
Right.
Second of all, aside from the loan guarantees I mentioned, the other stuff, the market development, new product innovation, tapping into hopefully the rise in Canadian housing starts, that all takes time.
Yeah.
This is not a quick fix. And in British Columbia, are we really going to have an industry before any of that stuff takes off?
Yeah. David, lots of questions yet to be answered, and we'll be watching this very closely, as we have for decades when it comes to softwood lumber in this province. So,
great employment.
Yeah, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care. That's David Elstone, Managing Director of the Spartree Group.